Welcome, sports fans, to the weekend eve. This is Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Sitting across from me, my brother with another mother, Coach 24, Darwin Penny. How are you doing this evening?
It's another great day. Awesome voice. We're glad to be here and looking forward to a great show.
Absolutely. And running the show, DJ Scatter, George Walker. Mr. Walker, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing super fantastic today. Super fantastic.
All right. And I am Brian Kress, the awesome voice. And yes, I changed it up a little bit, so I figured I'd give that a shot. So anyway, we got a lot of sports to go, and we're going to start with the Royals. I have heard that the Royals had signed one big pitcher, a 3-year, $45 million contract. So I'm going to let you take care of that.
So the Royals continue to work at adding pitching depth, in particular starting pitching, and then some guys on the back end of the bullpen. Right-handed pitcher Seth Lugo was the free agent that you spoke of. 3 years, $45 million. Had probably his best year last year with San Diego. He's been used both as a starter and a reliever throughout his career, but he had his best year as a reliever last year, a little bit over about 3.45 ERA for a San Diego team that should have been much better than it was, loaded with talent. And so what he brings is also some veteran leadership and some stability to the rotation. You're looking for somebody to go alongside Cole Reagans, Brady Singer. We know those are going to be our primary guys at the top of the rotation, and so looking for somebody to be a middle of the rotation guy, but also bring some veteran leadership. And he's 32 years of age, and so we'll get him for hopefully the best part of as he starts to get on the last part of his career. And hopefully he can just come out and he can eat up some innings. That's one of the things that's going to be very, very important with such an inexperienced bullpen. It's going to be important for us to get some guys that can go, consistently, 6 innings deep.
Right. And Cole Reagans was virtually our number one, our ace starter last year. Are you putting him ahead of Reagans?
No, I'm based on what Cole Reagans did the last month and a half of the season, where you could make a case for him that he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball. I think this is an opportunity for him to step forward as a young pitcher who has had some arm injuries in the past. Is one of the reasons why he was left kind of expendable by the Rangers, and so we were able to grab him. You feel like he's about to step into the prime of his career, and having a left-hander up at the front of the rotation always, I think, brings some stability to that rotation. But I expect him to be the number one. I expect Lugo to probably be 2, then Singer to be number 3. I think that may take some of the pressure off of Singer of having been a first-round pick, all these expectations with him, and just kind of allow him to not to have to be the ace of the staff and just go out and pitch. And so I think those are some things. It's going to be interesting. We also drafted in the Rule 5 draft, we got Matt Sauer from the Yankees. He had been a high prospect for the Yankees for quite some time, and seems like he's starting to put it together. And so we selected him in the Rule 5 draft, and he should come and compete for not only a roster spot, but probably a bullpen spot, even though he's been a starter. And so you never know, he could vie for that 5th starter role.
Absolutely. So, saying this, I know that you can never have enough pitching. I mean, the Dodgers proved that last year. Saying that, do you know if we're going to get any more pitching, or is there any prospects out there that we are looking at?
Absolutely. We're going to continue to look at the free agent list of pitchers that are out there. We were able to pick up a couple of small guys in trades, a right-handed pitcher by the name of Ryan Brady. He and shortstop Cam Devaney came from the Brewers for Taylor Clark. We were able to get a free agent left-handed pitcher, Will Smith, who played for the Rangers last year and the previous year played for the Astros. So just by picking him up, we automatically win the World Series, right? He's been on the last 2 World Series champions, so that automatically makes us World Series champions next year because we got Will Smith. So we're going to continue to be aggressive. It may not be the large market names that some people are looking for, but just guys that can come and compete. We're looking for guys that are hungry, guys that may be looking for a bounce back year, that may not have had great career last year or had a great year last year. And so this gives them an opportunity to come in and compete for a roster spot, and for some of them a spot in the rotation or in the bullpen. And so I think those are going to be important for us. Carlos Mateo was traded for right-handed pitcher Dylan Coleman to Astros. So there's been a lot of we signed Carlos De La Rosa, again, a guy who's got some big league experience, and we signed him to a minor league deal, but he'll still get a non-roster invite to spring training and get an opportunity to make the role. So it's our job to do our due diligence to try to get as many arms as we can, but also put our players in a competition mode. Right now, we have to have our players compete for roster spots and not anything be handed to anybody. And if we don't foster competition and get some additional older players that have some winning experience, like a Will Smith, to try to change that clubhouse mentality also.
Absolutely. And I like the ideal of this, because at least you don't want to go into next year already knowing that it's a losing proposition. You want to at least get the opportunity that, hey, we got a shot at having a decent season, maybe not, having the best record in baseball and vying for a World Series, but at least challenge for the opportunity to get there, because, once you make it into the playoffs, you never know.
Right. It's anybody's game once you get in the playoff. But, I think a realistic goal for us is we're just trying to find a way to get in the wild card game, or find our way into being division champions. We don't have a super elite team in our division. We've seen from the Twins, how fast you can get it turned around. And so all we have to do is get off to a good start and give ourselves a chance to stay in the race through the All-Star break. And then that's when baseball really becomes baseball, after the All-Star break. And so let's just give ourselves a chance to compete first in spring training. But last year, here we had the best spring training of anybody, and then all of a sudden we couldn't get off to a good start.
Absolutely. Now, I am a little bummed that we didn't get Oshane Ohtani or Shohei Ohtani, but he signs a 10-year, $700 million deal. How is that going to affect baseball?
Man, I don't think anybody tops that, because he's getting that amount of money because of his ability to play on both sides, right? As a pitcher, even though he won't pitch this year, but what he can also do as a hitter. You could argue he's obviously one of the top hitters in baseball, and when he's on the mound, one of the top pitchers. So if you had two players, would it be a big deal if you had two elite top 5 players for $70 million?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Right. You could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're getting it in one guy.
Right.
So it's an astronomical amount of money. $70 million a year, $700 million, almost $750
Right.
of $1 billion, excuse me,
Right.
that you're going to pay one player over a 10-year period. But I promise you, he's going to more than make that money back for the Dodgers. His jersey sale alone has already set a one-day record of the most jerseys sold in any one day of any player, any sport.
Right.
Right? There's a large Asian American contingency in the LA area. A huge part of them that were already Shohei Ohtani fans when he played for the Angels. And now all you're basically doing is moving across town. So all of those who were probably Angels fans are now Dodger fans, right? And Dodger Stadium will sell out every night. It's not like it already doesn't, but I promise you, the one thing that it's going to do is it's going to make the prices for concessions go up.
So is this going to be kind of similar to like the Chiefs? And I know that you play 81 games at home, where in comparison the Chiefs play roughly 20 or 10 to 12 games at home because of the the preseason and everything else. But everybody is wanting to come to Kansas City to watch a game. Is this going to happen to the Dodgers in the same fashion?
Well, I think with Shohei, it's going to be more of a traveling circus, both media and what they're doing. It's going to be like the Beatles, and when he comes to town, everybody's going to want a ticket, right? And it's still like for us here in town, don't matter what place the Yankees are in, those are usually 3 of the top selling nights other than us playing games against the Cardinals, just because you're going to have those people who make that trip from St. Louis. But when the Yankees come to town, the casual baseball fan shows up. The casual baseball fan is going to show up when Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers go anywhere. And so I think that's one of the greatest impact. So it has impact on baseball in a number of ways, but I think one of the things that you see now is, again, the need for baseball to have a salary cap for teams. Again, I'm not saying for a player, because somebody would say, man, you can't put I'm not saying that for players, but I'm saying for teams, because we as the Kansas City Royals had no shot.
No. There was only a handful. I mean, you could count on one hand.
You know who those are, right? The Angels, just because they're in LA and because he was their previous team, you knew them. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Cubs,
and the Giants.
The Giants were going to, but again, the Giants normally wouldn't go that far in on a player.
Right.
But again, we're talking about a large contingency of Asian American people that live in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Right.
That they would obviously, solicit a player like that. But for me personally, I knew he wasn't leaving L.A.
Right.
He's comfortable there.
Right.
And the Dodgers, all I got to do is just go across town. Right, we're good.
Right.
I think the amazing thing is how much of this money he's taken deferred.
Right, which is $680 million.
Yes.
So, and he's supposedly going to make $2 million per year, and what it supposedly is, he'll get like $68 million. What after? Right,
deferred. With they'll start those deferred payments after he completes the 10-year contract. But he's got some other unique parts of the contract as well. The guy who is the executive vice president and general manager, if for some reason he's removed, he can opt out of the contract. And there's some other things. But biggest thing is he's not going to get hammered by taxes.
Right.
Had he taken $70 million a year after California and federal taxes, he would have wound up really taking home about $37 million a year.
Wow.
So almost half of it would have been gone. So in his mind, 10 years from now, I may be somewhere else, and I can then take that money and take more of it home than giving the state of California half of it.
Right.
Almost.
So he gets no interest on this. How is that comparable to what Bobby Bonilla did?
Well, Bobby did get interest in his for taking his payments deferred, but it's very comparable. Bobby didn't take any money. Well, he took basically the major league minimum salary that he had to take, and then was able to defer all of that with interest because they were trying to get him to restructure his contract. The Mets were, in order so that they could trade him. And so that's how he was able to set that up. But it was more of they were trying to move him. And so in order to move me, then here's some things that you're going to have to do. And he set himself up financially until age 75 because every July 1st we have Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yep,
I know me and a couple of friends that celebrate it because he gets that $1 million check from the Mets.
Absolutely. So baseball is finally at least stepping it up and making it interesting, especially in a football season. But saying that, we had 2 great games this past weekend, and obviously the Chiefs didn't win. There was a lot of issues going on. Now, they were saying that, Kadarius Toney was offsides, but I was watching, SportsCenter and NFL Network, and one person said that he was lined up in the exact same spot 4 previous times, including the second play of the game, and yet that moment they decided to call it. And I don't get what they're doing. Now, was he offsides? He probably was, and it was probably the right call. But why didn't you call it any other time and then call it? And then the next play, Von Miller is in the exact same spot, and they don't call that.
Right. So let me add a couple of things to that. The videos that most people are showing, whether it's SportsCenter or anybody else, are showing it from a catbird's angle. That is not the same angle that an official sees.
Right.
When we see that line on television, that is not an exact line. Right. It is graphics that's used on TV that gives us a basic indication of where the first down or the goal line or the yard to gain is. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about should the official have warned him. There's nothing in the rule books that says an official has to warn you.
Right.
The other thing that I saw in that video, because I had a friend of mine post this on social media, he wasn't lined up in front of the same official each time. They're correct in that there were some times that he was crowding the line of scrimmage and he was not called for it. Okay. But again, it's all according to what that line judge sees. He also was in a bunch type formation, or a formation where he was inside of the numbers close to the tackle, right? A official is not going to yell inside, hey, number, you need to back up. Now, as a receiver, okay, and for anybody listening, I did coach receivers. I coached football as a high school coach in the state of Texas. My first rule was when you come out there and you are the ex-receiver, that means you're going to be on the line of scrimmage and you're going to be outside in the formation, check with the official. Am I good? He's either going to say you're good, right, or he's going to say move up,
right,
or he's going to say move back. Right. Mm-hmm. Kadarius Toney did not check with the official, especially since he's so far inside. Right. Now, here's going to be the basic rule of thumb for the official. Can I see the football or not? If I can't see the football, you're offside. Right. If I can still see the football,
right,
I'm probably not going to throw it. So depending on who his official was those other times, can I still see the nose of the football?
Right.
Okay. And even though I may, from a elevated view look like I'm in the same position, but can I see the football? The minute that I, as an official, as a side judge, I can't see the football, now you're offside, and you haven't checked with me, and I haven't a place, right? Again, it's like the penalty last year in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you calling that penalty? Well, he held him.
Right.
Okay, it's a foul.
Right.
Right. And you throw the flag immediately. It's not like in the Super Bowl where he throws the flag immediately. He doesn't know that it's going to be a touchdown on that play.
Right.
Right. He's lined up offsides. I can't see the ball, so I'm throwing the flag. It's difficult. Okay. Should you have said earlier in the game, hey, Mr. Coach, tell your guy he needs to back up. But by rule, you're not required to do that.
Right.
Most good officials will say something to your coach. Hey, tell 80, he's borderline, right?
Right.
But it's always the receiver responsibility. And for me, the only person in this situation that I say needs to, and I'm thankful that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all these people are protecting their teammate. But in the end, if you look at Kadarius Toney, and I challenged some of my friends when he was brought here that there's a reason why he's a first-round pick and the Giants are letting him go.
Right.
Right? He's cost, we know for sure right now, 2 games this year.
Yes. Yep.
Right? And for me, at that time, I said he is a return specialist. That's who he is. He's not a one receiver. And I think there are some challenges to the front office that, yes, you have the best quarterback in football, maybe the best we may ever see. But he cannot carry the weight of the offense every week for 6 years.
No, he can't.
And that's what I think we saw on the sidelines was that emotion that came out.
Yeah.
Was I'm right. We're not scoring points like we ought to be scoring. Guys are dropping balls. I think the weight of the world hit Mahomes' shoulders, and it all exploded last week.
Right. And he has been up front. He has been, say, hey, like last week on the PI or what should have been a PI.
Mm-hmm.
He he was like, hey, this is, let us play everything else. And I think with all that, and then that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, saying this, the Chiefs don't, and this could be Brett Veach's fault. This could also them sign in Chris Jones. I mean, there could be many, many reasons, but you have to have Kadarius Toney in the lineup because they don't have any other wide receivers outside of Rashid Rice, who is developed into a receiver, but you had to go through the year, and Travis Kelce. Who else do you put out there that you can trust?
Right. And that's the challenge. But again, they're taking the Belichick approach. All those years, Tom Brady won with less than stellar receivers or guys that were good but not great. They don't want to bring in that prima donna. I don't know. Maybe Andy doesn't want another T.O., but T.O. was highly productive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And those guys can make big plays in the biggest moments. And so, yes, you have, again, one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen, but you cannot expect him to be perfect all the time. And I think you have to challenge yourself to say, why won't we go and get a receiver, right? Belichick has gone all these years, okay? And now when he's got a lesser quarterback, I bet he wishes he had a frontline receiver right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right now they come with sometimes they come with a lot of traveling suitcases, for those high profile guys, and they're demonstrative and they do a whole lot, but they sure make your quarterback's job a whole lot easier. Versus, Travis called out the media yesterday, but Travis, the stats say that the team with the most drop passes this year is the Kansas City Chiefs.
It is,
and it's not close.
No, it's not even. They have like 36 drops.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other issue. They scored 3 points in the fourth quarter. They are averaging 3 points in the fourth quarter. They have, I think, scored 39 points. They've been outscored 61-39. And that difference
mm-hmm.
gives you 4 losses.
Absolutely. And at some point in time, you know, we have to look at this objectively. That's our job as part of those who talk about sports. We have to be objective at what we're talking about, regardless if it's our home team, our favorite team, or whatever. We have to be objective in this manner. And at some point in time, the lack of offense from the Chiefs needs to be addressed.
Yep.
Right? We hit on it a little bit last week, but it needs to be. We used to expect the Chiefs to go out and score 30, 40 points a game.
Right.
Right? What, a couple of weeks now, you're barely scoring 20, if that.
You're struggling to score 20.
Struggling to score 20. That ain't all on the officials.
No.
Right? And when things are not going according to script, then we have to find fault, blame somewhere else, right? I would challenge Mr. Mahomes if I was right next to him. Did you have that same energy as the Philadelphia fans? Because that's what they say last year in the Super Bowl. Right. Let them play.
Yep.
Let them play through it.
Mm-hmm.
Let the players decide the game. I know what he's saying when he says that, right? You don't want it to come down to an official's call.
Right.
But every Eagle fan is saying that same thing from the Super Bowl last year. Oh, man, that was barely a grab. Let them play.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So it no matter who you are as a team, it eventually comes back your way, right? All of us Cowboy fans, we still living in 2014. Dez caught it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So speaking of Dallas, you know, they had issues coming into the season. They had lost a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. Well, you know, they struggled a little bit in the beginning. Yeah, they still scored a lot of points, but Dak Prescott has now become one of the front runners of the MVP with him and Brock Purdy. And so, like, they're playing Buffalo this week, and Dallas is number 1 in points per game. They are number 4 in total yards per game, and they are number 1 in third down percentage. But the red zone, they're 15th. But they had improved. That's something Kansas City has not done. In fact, they have gone the other way.
Right. I think that you see a lot of things, but again, I'll harp on it again from Kansas City's standpoint, is not, in my opinion, utilizing the running game the way the running game should be utilized. I think it's one of the reasons why Dallas struggles in the red zone, because their inability to utilize the running game when you want to get those tough yards inside. And so I know Pacheco is a little bit banged up, but I think that's an investment between McKinnon and, you know, former first-round pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that, you know, they've got to find a way to utilize the running game in the zone. I mean, the team that's probably first, I would probably say first in red zone, is probably the 49ers.
Yeah.
And we know how they use their running game.
Exactly.
Right. It's a lot tougher to throw inside the 20.
Oh, it is, because the field is condensed.
The field is condensed, exactly.
You don't have the room, you know, where you have 80 yards. You have a whole bunch of room, whereas inside the 20, you had just a little bit of room, and only a few teams seem to do that. Now, the Chiefs used to be able to do that. Obviously, they don't. So, but they can't pick up any wide receivers this year. They can't pick up any bonus players this year. Everything is already done, and there's nobody sitting at home mowing their lawn that you can call up and say, hey, come on and play with us. So, but the good news for the Chiefs is their schedule is not as hard. They play New England this week, and New England is a total mess. And we'll get into that when we do our predictions after halftime, and we're getting near halftime. But saying that, the Kansas City Chiefs still have a great shot at getting the 2nd seed. Now, getting the number 1 seed is a little difficult, but it's still attainable. You know, because you got Baltimore, they got to play San Francisco, they've got to play Jacksonville, and I believe they play Miami, or I can't think of it right off the bat, but their schedule is not that easy. Mm-hmm. And then Miami has got to play Dallas too. So Dallas and Miami and Baltimore, you know, they're going to have challenges, whereas Chiefs, they're going to have challenges, but the teams that they're playing is not that well. All the 4 teams that Kansas City is going to play have backup quarterbacks. They don't have a Dak Prescott that they have to face, or a Brock Purdy, or even a Josh Allen now.
Right. So the Ravens have Jacksonville, at San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh at home.
Right. And Pittsburgh, no matter how they are, they will always be a tough match.
Right. That's a divisional game, and so you figure that could be they get Miami at home. Miami has not been as good on the road, and weather could be a factor there. The 49ers, we know what they are right now. I think most people concede that they are the best team in football.
Right.
And then Jacksonville is going to be a formidable opponent, and you've got to go 2 weeks on the road. So no, it's not an easy walk in the park. But what you're asking them to do to get the number 1 seed is you're basically asking them to lose 3 games.
Yeah.
3 out of those 4, which is conceivable.
It is.
In reality.
I mean, Miami lost to Tennessee,
Right.
and they became the first team to, or I should say, Tennessee became the first team to win a game down 2 touchdowns, 14 points, with less than 3 minutes left in the game, and won it in regulation. They didn't go into overtime. They actually, Vrabel did it's a genius thing, because they got it where they scored the touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, and then when they scored the third touch or the next touchdown, all they needed to do was kick the extra point.
Right. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The one thing that the Chiefs do have going for them still, even with 5 losses, is they would have right now they have a better conference record than the Ravens do. The Raven has 3 conference losses. The Chiefs have 2. Okay, but that's a lot of things that you don't control.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is you want to be in control of your own destiny. And so, but you want to win out so that wherever you finish, you still would have an opportunity to at least host 1, maybe even 2 playoff games. Even if it's not the conference championship game, a.k.a. the Arrowhead Invitational.
Yep, absolutely. And we are at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we will discuss the games this week. We've got a game tonight, the Chargers versus the Raiders. That's a barn burner for sure.
We've been getting some Thursday night doozies.
I'm telling you what. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. right, we're back with the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Coach 24, DJ Scatter behind the scenes, and I am the awesome voice. And we're going to start off with these games for this week, and we've got some doozies of a game. We do have one great game, but this one tops it all. The LA Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. So, and as you see, I am wearing my San Diego Charger jersey because I've got Kellen Winslow, a former Missouri player and one of the best tight ends of all time. So, Chargers have lost Herbert for the season. He broke his finger on his throwing hand, and so now he is going to be replaced by Easton Stick. That sounds like a baseball bat.
Right.
So anyway, and we've had a ton of backup quarterbacks. There's a lot of them, and as we said, the Chiefs' last 4 games will be against backup quarterbacks. So, Khalil Mack is a half a sack away from getting 100 sacks in 149 games. Now, Las Vegas is 28th in scoring offense, and they are, but they are 9th in scoring defense. So, who do you have?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. It's hard for me to pick a team that lost a 3-0 game last week. So, there's a lot of like I say, problems. And they have some good offensive players. When you look at a Devontae Adams and you look at a Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. I mean, the Raiders have some guys that are really good at their position, but just are still struggling to find a quarterback and some continuity that goes along with that. And so with that said, I think Eckler and the boys in San Diego will outscore them, 10-7 or something.
Absolutely. And, the Chargers have been playing a little better defense. Now, this may be another 3-0 game, which was tied for the lowest game in NFL history, 3-0. I'm surprised somebody didn't get a safety and it made it 2-0. So,
well, there's a game back in the 1970 playoffs where the Cowboys beat the Lions 5-0, a field goal and a safety, a playoff game 5-0.
Oh man! Well, that tells you. Even when Detroit was halfway decent, they still puked it up. So, but we got 3 games going on Saturday. The first one is Minnesota versus Cincinnati. Now, Josh Dobbs, who was just totally killing it for Minnesota the first few games, has really, really struggled. But saying this, Minnesota since 1995 have an 8-1 record when playing on Saturday. Now, Cincinnati has Jake Browning, and he has been playing very well. He has 79.3% completion over his first 3 games, which is the highest since 1950.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals in this game. 1, they're playing at home. 2, the Vikings, regardless of Dobbs, I think last week of them having to pull him in the game in the fourth quarter really doesn't help his situation. I think Josh Dobbs is becoming who he's been, and that's a backup quarterback who's played on 5 different teams just since the end of last year. And
right.
So we applaud that young man because he's doing the best that he can, learning all these new systems
absolutely.
And everything. But I just think the Bengals have more of an overall team than the Vikings do. But it's an important game for both of them. Whoever loses this game is going to really make it hard for them to make the playoffs.
Absolutely. They're both 7-6. And Cincinnati, it will affect them. Well, it will affect them more because there's like 6 teams that are 7-6, which is the most in the Super Bowl era after 13 games. And Browning is starting to play decent, but is he going to be like Josh Dobbs, or is he going to continue on playing as well as he did? I have Cincinnati too. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. Now, Pittsburgh has won 8 straight versus the Colts, and Pittman Jr. is on pace to join Marvin Harrison, who did it 4 times, Reggie Wayne, who did it 4 times, and Dallas Clark in 2009, which was their Super Bowl championship years as players, with 100+ receiving and 1,000 receiving yards in a season.
Yeah, he's been really great this year, playing with multiple quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew right now, I would. It's hard for me to say it, but I would put my money on him over anybody that the Steelers are going to try it out. The Steelers, we know what they're going to do. They're going to try to have a great ground game and play good defense. But I think the explosiveness of the Colts with their receivers should give them an edge in this game, and so I like the Colts by a touchdown.
Well, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because this looks like an easy pick to pick Indianapolis, but Pittsburgh always finds that way of looking like they have no right to win the game, and they end up winning it. So I'm going to pick Pittsburgh as you pick Indianapolis. And so the Saturday night game, which is actually going to be a great game now, the Denver Broncos going to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions at home. Denver hadn't been as good on the road as they have been at home. And I still just don't believe in Rush. So I think the Lions find a way to win this game, even though they've been kind of stumbling down the stretch. I think they certainly need this win to kind of, they still have hopes of potentially a first or second seed. And then they've got a couple of tough games coming as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with Denver, and here's why. Jared Goff has been turning the ball over, not only on the road, but at home. Denver is the best team, tied with, I believe it's Jacksonville, with 24 turnovers or takeaways. And if Jared Goff does not fix that problem, Denver is going to take care of it. So I'm going to go with Denver. We've got Cleveland, and Cleveland was hosting the Chicago Bears.
It's another tough game, but the Bears are too inconsistent. The Browns are consistent on defense. We don't know what we're going to get, but Fluco is back, and so he had a great week last week, and so I'm going to go with Fluco and the Browns.
I'm going to go with the Browns too, just based on Cleveland's defense. Yes, I know that sometimes they have issues with it. Now, the only thing is that Chicago is good at running the ball, especially Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Cleveland is great at stopping the pass. So this is going to be one, but I think Cleveland will end up winning this game. And we've got Atlanta at Carolina.
I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this game. I'm going to go with the Falcons.
One of 2 teams that is officially eliminated from the playoffs, along with the New England Patriots. I've got Atlanta too. Tampa Bay at Green Bay.
Packers disappointed me last week. After coming off that big win at Kansas City, and then laid an egg, and then one of my favorite guys, Shaker Baker, man, is coming to town. So, man, this is a tough game. I'm gonna go with. Believe it or not, I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers. I'm gonna go with Shaker Baker, man.
I am going to go with Green Bay, and here's why. Tampa Bay is allowing 264 yards passing on defense, which is the 3rd most in the NFL. And I think Jordan Love will come back at home and make up for last week's gaffe against the Giants. So I will pick I've got it wrong. Green Bay. The New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins.
I think this game is going to be tougher than people think. I think that the Jets can do some things that create problems, and I think Miami could potentially push the panic button after last week. Saying that, I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
Yep. And here's the thing. We don't know if Tyreek Hill will be playing. He's still a question mark. And when Tyreek Hill left the game, Miami looked lost. They look like actually Kansas City Chiefs offense.
Right. I don't think he'll play. I think they'll hold him out because I think in their mind they can probably beat the Jets without Tyreek, even though we saw what happened on Monday Night Football. But I think the game against Dallas is probably weighing more that they need Tyreek in that game than they do in this game.
Absolutely. I am going to pick Miami also. The New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints.
The Giants, man, all of a sudden, I need the Giants to be good in a couple of weeks when they play the Eagles, right? I don't care if they're good any of these other times. The Saints are in disarray, and I can't believe this. I'm going to pick the Giants in this game in an upset.
DeVito.
Not Danny, but Tommy DeVito.
Yes,
Yo, Tommy.
Yep. And, he's won 3 straight games. He's had 100 rated passer rating in each of those games. It looked like the Giants was going to be one of those doormats, and they've just started to Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito, has actually given the Giants the spark that they needed because Danny Dimes wasn't doing it for him. Well, I'm going to go with the Giants too.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is you don't have a lot of film on this guy. The first week that he was a starter was the week they went into Dallas, and
right.
The defense was just all over him, right? But he held his composure till the next week and didn't lose it. And so he's been playing at home. He's got his family, his friends. He still lives with his parents. He's got all the guys that are out there, and all the little sub shops going, yeah, he can do it because he's Italian, right? He can do it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's their guy, man. And so we'll see. The Saints are in disarray, and nobody trusts Derek Carr.
No. And, he was supposed to spark New Orleans, and he hasn't done it yet.
Right.
Houston at Tennessee.
I think the Texans are starting to come back to earth a little bit. I think the grind of the season is starting to come back to them. It's hard with Tennessee. I'm gonna take the Titans in this game at home. They always get up for this game against Houston of them being the former team in Houston, and I think Vrabel's teams won't quit, and we saw that Monday. He's a really good coach, and he won't let his guys quit. And I think defensively they may. I mean, if they can get back to Derrick Henry like they did Monday, I think they can eventually, at least salvage the season.
Well, if Derrick Henry can help the running game and cut the drives, down, producing long drives, it will also help that. I am not sure if C.J. Stroud is going to be playing.
I hope they don't let that young man play. He's too early in his career to be trying to play through concussions.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
They've got their number 2 receiver is questionable also.
Right. So they're pretty well banged up. I'm going to pick Tennessee also. San Francisco at Arizona.
I'm going to go with the 49ers. Nothing left to be said.
And I agree with you. Washington at the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams. I feel like the Commandos have quit.
Oh, absolutely. I'm thinking that possibly well, here it is. Washington is the worst in scoring, total, and pass defense in the NFL. That is a triple play, and that is not a good triple play, the Rams.
No. Stafford will eat up on them.
Dallas at Buffalo.
I think the Cowboys keep rolling. I am a little bit concerned for one reason only, okay? And that reason is that it is potential rain on Sunday, and Dak traditionally has not been very good in the rain.
And
You know?
they also playing on grass because that's what I.
Yeah,
They
Dallas
play better.
They play better on turf, right? Because their speed is more visible, right?
Right.
You saw that last week in the Philadelphia game. Looked
Right.
like Philadelphia was in quicksand, and the Cowboys were like Bob Hayes down there, right?
Right.
And so, but it's more of the water because used to you could get in a game like this and you could lean on Zeke.
Right.
I don't think you can lean on the running game right now. I think the defense is going to have to come up big, and Dak is going to have to be good in situations to just keep drives alive. I think he may have to use his feet. I'm not worried about what Josh Allen's going to do because I know what he's going to do. He's going to have some big plays, and then he's going to turn the ball over.
Right. And Dallas is great at turning the ball over for the other team.
Absolutely.
So with that, I am going to pick Dallas for that reason. Philadelphia at Seattle.
Philly's reeling. I just don't think that Seattle can expose them. Right? They've gone through the gauntlet part of their schedule, and I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think they finally bounced back, but I think they got problems, and they've got an arrogant coach right now.
Yep, absolutely. The offense, who is supposed to have been high scoring, and they have been high scoring, but that defense is the one that's really, I think, is struggling. And if it wasn't for the Carter touchdown on defense, it would have even been a bigger blowout against Dallas.
Right.
Seattle is 7-0 with Pete Carroll under the helm against Philadelphia. I am picking Seattle.
All right.
Sunday night football, Baltimore at Jacksonville. Oh, and I switched it because I wrote down that Kansas City was at New England because it was supposed to have been Monday night. So,
Okay.
But we'll do that last. But
Okay.
Sunday night football, Baltimore at Jacksonville.
I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think right now they are the best team in the AFC. They've been pretty consistent throughout the year. I think Jacksonville will struggle to stop their running game, and then there's been a slight emergence, whether you realize it or not, of Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, yeah. So, and I agree with you. I've got Baltimore. I'm kind of I'm a show me state guy, and Jacksonville needs to show me. Kansas City at New England. Is this going to be the game that Kansas City needs to get out of this funk? And if New England has the worst 13 points per game.
I don't think that offensively that this is necessarily the game because New England's actually been pretty good defensively,
right?
But they can't score. Right. So the Chiefs win, but I don't think this is going to be the game where the Chiefs score 40 points and all of a sudden turn back into the juggernaut that we've seen over the last few years, right? Well, in the Mahomes era. But the Chiefs win this game, and I think they win this game handily. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's a 24-10 game.
Right. Well, I think Mahomes is just angry, period, with everything that's going on, the officiating, his performance, everything. I think this is the week that they're going to say, let's just totally knock it out. And New England is the team to do it. So I've got Kansas City also. So we are near the end of our show, but we still have the best segment of our show. Penny for your thoughts.
Penny for your thoughts. This week we want to celebrate Larry Doby. Larry Doby, most people don't know anybody who's second, right? When you come in second, they forget who you are. But Larry Doby was the second African-American and the first African-American to play in the American League about a month and a half after Jackie Robinson made his debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Larry Doby made his debut with the Cleveland Indians. We have made movies. We have documentation of all that Jackie had to endure in being the first, and rightfully so, with the Brooklyn Dodgers. But what Larry Doby endured, everything that Jackie endured, and did not have the same training or background that Jackie. Jackie had played with white ball players when he was a college student at UCLA. Larry Doby was not a college student, and he was a young man at about 20 years of age when he made his debut in the American League, whereas Jackie was already 26 years old, a fully grown man, had been an officer. And so his ability to handle himself well was highly documented. But Larry Doby, the second, nobody talks about the second person, Buzz Aldrin, who was the second person on the moon. Nobody talks about the second person, and so, but we stand because Larry Doby, just 2 days ago was the anniversary of his 100th birthday, and so we salute Larry Doby for not being second, but for being a pioneer in baseball, leaving the Newark Eagles of Negro League Baseball and being the first African American. Larry, we're going to recognize you as the first African American in the American League. Mr. Larry Doby, we salute you.
Absolutely. So, I was hesitant to do this, but I'm going to, and we do have a couple of minutes left in the show. This morning, or actually last night, I had a friend call me, but I didn't get the call until this morning, that a friend of mine had passed away, self-inflicted. It's really numbing about what happened. You sometimes think people are going through, everything is going just great. You got Christmas, you're wanting to spend it with family, and then this happens. And this is just a reminder of how fragile life is and how we should appreciate the friends that we have, the family we have, and that it should not be taken for granted, because the next moment you could be gone and then that's it. And so he was a great friend. I played Little League football with him, and we grew up grew up through the years and everything. And we would, when I did my Funky Town get-togethers, he would come out, and it was just, you thought, hey, he had a great job, he had a great life, he went through divorce, he had children, but it just, it is just rough. And, I've been kind of thinking about this all day, because, I appreciate my friendship with you. I appreciate my friendship with Mr. Walker and everything that he's done, and all of my friends that I've grown up with, and, all the friends that you have grown up with. And so I just want to take a moment, we were talking sports, we were talking about how the Chiefs have been playing bad and everything, but it's still just a game. This is life, and we need to not take it for granted. And so with that, I say, rest in peace, my friend, and you need to live life like it's your last day on earth. And with that, we're at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Now, next week we will do a show, and then we will be off until next year. So with George Walker, DJ Scatter, Coach 24, Darwin Penny, and I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal sports weekend.